Well, turning to Washington, D.C. now, President Donald Trump began a push to fulfill a pledge to improve the nation's infrastructure with a proposal to reform and privatize the U.S. air traffic control system. In today's Quick Take, we explore how Trump plans to do this through public-private partnerships. So, Boston's Big Dig, New York's 2nd Avenue subway extension and the Denver International Airport, they're all landmark American public works paid for the traditional American way. The government borrows money, usually before the first shovel goes into the ground. Canada, Australia and much of Western Europe do it differently through public-private partnerships, or P3s. Here's how that works. Consortiums of private companies raise money, then they design, build and operate projects for terms, generally 30 years. In return, governments make yearly payments or dedicate a revenue stream, such as toll receipts, for the lifetime of that contract. Here's the situation. President Donald Trump's pledge of a giant infrastructure program was a part of his campaign, a central part. In the budget he released in May, he proposed spending $200 billion in federal funds over 10 years to spur an additional $800 billion in state, local and private investment. The plan relies heavily on the use of P3s, and Trump's aides have discussed options such as offering tax credits. Here's the background. Some scholars trace the P3 concept back to the Roman Empire, which enticed investors to build and operate postal stations and highways. The U.S., though, chose a different path. New York State sold bonds to build the Erie Canal in the early 19th century after the federal government refused to provide funds. But countries that use the P3 strategy, Spain and France, for example, often find projects can be delivered faster and cheaper. So here's the argument. President Trump's advisors have argued that his tax credit approach to public-private partnerships would mean less taxpayer money would be needed upfront to fund his plans. House Speaker Paul Ryan says he won't support infrastructure spending without offsetting budget cuts. Critics like economist Paul Krugman describe Trump's plan as corporate welfare, since it would pay developers to take on projects profitable enough to be appealing without the government subsidy. And Democrats say P3s won't work in rural or low-income areas that cannot generate enough tolls or user fees to support private investment, and that much more direct federal spending is needed. You can read more about public-private partnerships and all of our quick takes at NI Quick on the Bloomberg.